It should be us screaming at the camera in frustration because they have been awful to start the year. My fellow Habs fans, welcome back to this week's edition of the Habs Fan Forum, proudly a part of Rocket Sports Media and allhabs.net. I'm Ben Danke, your host, and here at the Habs Fan Forum, this is where us fans get to have our voices heard. And this week, it should be us screaming at the camera in frustration because they have been awful to start the year. Wow, just brutal. Today I'm going to take you through a little recap of the games we've seen so far. And then I'm going to go over some points of concern. I'm going to talk about some leadership points, power play, face-off, scoring, defense. I'm just going to go quickly over my main concerns with all of these areas. And it all does kind of start with that first point, leadership. All right, first let's go over that weekly recap. The Habs go 0-3 against, let's go over these juggernauts of a team. Buffalo, they lose 5-1. Rangers, a better game, but they still lose 3-1. And then, finally, the Sharks. They lose 5-0 at home again. Brutal. The Sharks and Sabres are supposed to be if you look at my preseason predictions, bottom dwellers. The Rangers, while a good team, are, in my opinion, a playoff team, but still not elite necessarily. Frankly, they just looked bad all week. They got outscored 13-2 this week, and that's 15-3 on the whole season. Their power play was 0-13, and yeah, you see it in the 0-3 record this week. All right, let's go into why this is happening. It's an awful start. We all know that. The Bell Center didn't even sell out last game. That's not cool. There was 5,000 open seats. So let's go into that first point. It's hard to actually quantify what leadership looks like. And we're seeing it. When I did my preseason predictions of where the Habs were going to fall, and I put them in that kind of middle of the pack area, saying they could, not very likely, but could squeak into that fifth playoff spot this year, that was with Carey Price there. They are missing Carey Price so badly. Timely saves, the leadership in the room. They are missing Shea Weber so badly. He really anchored that top 4D, and we're seeing it even more with Eddie not being in the lineup. It took a bad situation to worse with both of them being out. So we're just seeing those two players and how important they were to this team and the coaching staff. You're seeing a team that isn't inspired by the coaching staff. They're not either bought into the system or the system sucks. One of the two. And it's early in the season, so it's really hard to get a system and play that quickly. But they had the preseason. They had 4 games so far. Because without Carey Price and Shea Weber, and with a coach that they just don't look inspired by, this team is now in the bottom dweller section until further notice. Let's get into the power play. That was supposed to be much improved this season. 0-13 ain't necessarily a great start. And I know they didn't have Hoffman to start the year. But now that he's back, still, they didn't get any goals. And frankly, it just hasn't looked great. A lot of perimeter shots, just even with all that talent, it's still just not producing. So needless to say, they got to hit the whiteboard again on that one. So before I continue, just a quick word from our sponsors. Rocket Sports Media is proudly a part of the Hockey Podcast Network and, of course, is sponsored by DraftKings. Hockey is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook has an unbelievable offer right now. If you go and use the promo code THPN and you put down a bet of $1, you get a free $100 of betting money if either team scores a goal, and which we know is pretty likely. And if Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, that's no problem. You can still win lots of cash prizes all season long with daily fantasy sports. Just remember to use the promo code THPN. All right, let's talk about faceoffs. We knew they were going to be kind of weak at center this year with some young players coming in and some turnover there. But wow, outside of Dvorak, they have been just plain awful in the faceoff dot. Suzuki's got to get better. Evans has got to get better. Dvorak's been great. One of the top face-off guys in the league, actually. But Paquette has been awful, and even Brooks in the one game stint he had has been brutal. So I mean, he's only 20%. Overall, they're sitting under 50%, and that's just got to change. So hopefully, when Evans comes back, they can get Paquette out of there. And maybe at one point, if Palin gets better, maybe he can come up and replace Brooks. I don't know, but Brooks only had one game, so I'm hoping he can still turn it around. And on defense, this team has not looked great. And not even just their defensive core, but let's start with that at least. Looks like, I think it was Rick who said this, looks like we're seeing the difference between a 13-minute-a-night Savard and a 19-minute-a-night Savard. He's just made for the third pairing. He's not a top 4D or at least right now, he's not showing to be a top 4D. He's said he has problems with this system, so gotta give him some time, I guess. But it's kind of just validating my initial hypothesis of what I thought we had in Savard. They overpaid him. He's a 6'7" D-man at best, and he's on the downstage of his career. So hopefully he can turn it around, but early, we're seeing that big loss of not having Edmondson in that top four, and until he gets back, they just got to keep experimenting because this D does not look great. It definitely doesn't have that top four Clydesdale feel from last year. And finally, scoring. Okay, so they're not scoring any goals. 3 goals in 4 games. That's brutal. But they are going to do better than this as the year comes on. There's bound to be... Suzuki's going to get it back. Caulfield's hit the post a few times and looks dangerous. Anderson, Dvorak, and Druin has looked good. This team can score more than it is scoring right now. We all know that the talent in the players has not left. And they're shooting at like a 2.59%. So throughout the year, obviously this is going to get a little bit better, but it's got to turn around fast because this team is losing confidence All right, we have some exciting games coming up. They got the Canes and Jesperi Kotkaniemi coming to town. That's going to be fun. They're seeing the Wings, and then their first game ever with the Seattle Kraken. So some really fun games coming up. I hope they can start putting up goals and making these games a little bit more exciting. All right, that's it for this episode of the Habs Fan Forum. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, just like down below. Tell your friends. Subscribe so you can get future content. You can also follow All Habs or go to allhabs.net for the best Montreal Canadiens coverage. Thanks again for watching. I'm Ben Dankew. And of course, even in the slumps, woo! Go Habs go, baby.